leader's question. The question was, how can the Prime Minister waste millions of dollars on a Arrive scam when Canadians can't afford to eat, heat, or house themselves? The answer is because the NDP keeps that Prime Minister in power. That's and votes consistently in committee to cover up the scandal and shut down investigations.
Gang, what's up? Just Ehren right here. Question period, Canada. How you doing? I've been pretty confused recently about JAGMEET Singh and the NDP party and this Liberal NDP coalition government that is dragging Canadians down. The NDP party is supposed to stand up for Canadians, but they're not listening. Canadians want an election. The NDP party could do that. They could fall these Liberals, but they don't. They keep threatening to do it, but they're not going to do it. JAGMEET seems really confused. Let's listen to JAGMEET. I don't know if he's gaslighting you or confused himself. It's really hard to understand.
To you about the story of what we're going through in our country. And it's a story of corporate greed versus people. And it is a story that's been going on for decades. We have a housing market that is designed to make rich investors richer. And it is working exactly as designed by Liberals and Conservatives. And this housing market designed by Liberals and Conservatives to make rich investors rich is not working for people. It's not working for everyday folks. And it means for everyday folks, a constant fear that your rent's going to go up, constant fear that your mortgage is going to go up, a constant fear that you're going to lose your home. And that's what the people here at TriBench felt at this cooperative. They lived in constant fear for years where they did not know what was going to happen to their housing. They did not know if they were going to have a place to call home. And what that means, we heard from one of the residents, it means losing your community. It means losing your family. For a lot of people, where you live and the community around you is your family. Imagine living in constant fear you're going to lose your family. You're not just going to lose your home, you're going to lose your family, lose your sense of identity, and have nowhere to go. That is a story of a housing market designed for rich investors that ignores the reality of real people. And so we're saying enough is enough. This home for people was saved because of the Renters Protection Fund that the BC NDP brought in. This fund, this Renters Protection Fund, kept this building for the community, kept these homes for people. And that's what we want to do across this country. Conservatives and Liberals want to continue to favor rich corporate landlords, rich investors, let them keep on making money, and people end up suffering. We're saying enough is enough. Let's actually make people the priority. Let's make the residents of this community the priority. Let's make families, young people, seniors, let's make them the priority, and let's build a housing market that works for them. And one of the first things we need to do is make sure we keep the homes that are affordable. Right now, across our country, for every one affordable home that's being built, 11 are lost. That is a losing battle. We have to stop that. And to do that, we want to build on the work of the BC NDP and bring in a national Renters Protection Fund to make sure we keep the homes that are affordable in communities, in the hand of community organizations, keep them affordable. We're done with governments protecting billionaires. We believe the job of government is to protect people, not billionaires, protect homes, not make rich investors richer. That's what our plan is.
And now JAGMEET's going to take some law ball questions from the media that he and Trudeau have paid for.
Global BC next.
Sure.
JAGMEET. En anglais, s'il vous plaît. Seulement. You had a chance to speak with some of the residents in this complex before this press conference got underway. Could you please share some of the things that you were able to speak with them about?
Yeah, I mean, just we know what the costs are for renting a place now. The average cost to rent a place, upwards of $2,500 a month for a one-bedroom, upwards of that. I mean, that is so out of bounds for people. For people, that's really a question at that point of having most of your money go towards your rent and having really nothing left over for groceries, for bills, for the other things in life. We imagine that Canadians should be able to earn a good living, whether they're on a pension, a fixed income, or a job, earn enough so they can pay their rent and also have money left over to buy the groceries they need, to buy those extra treats that their families want, to maybe go away for a little vacation if they need. These are the things that we imagine people should be able to do, but they're not going to be able to do it if we see rents continue to rise the way they are. And if we can continue to see affordable homes being sold off to rich investors, then we're not going to be able to have affordable homes for people. So we've got to stop that. And the only way we stop that is empowering community to be able to keep those affordable homes affordable. And so that's what we're fighting for today. We're saying enough's enough. We've seen for too long governments working for millionaires and billionaires. That's not working for people. We've seen enough of federal governments prioritizing rich corporate landlords. We're saying that's wrong. We should be protecting people. And that's what we're proposing today. A national renters protection fund to build on the work of BC. We're using this building as an example of what we could do. This should be happening everywhere in our country. Homes should be kept affordable, should be supported by local community organizations, and the federal government should be a partner in supporting these type of initiatives, keeping homes affordable, protecting people, not billionaires.
Our first question comes from Mark Ramsey with the Toronto Star.
Hi, Mark.
I have a question for Mr. Singh. I have a question for Mr. Singh and Ms. Cirillo. The Canada Disability Benefit has been long awaited and long delayed. A lot of people are anxious that it might not be funded in the upcoming budget. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're expecting and what you're hoping to see in it?
Certainly. I'll start with some broad comments, and then I'll turn to our critic, Benita, who's been a real champion on this file. So we fought in the first place to bring in supports for people living with disabilities. And the legislation was one step, but we also want to see a national benefit. We actually ran on bringing in a benefit to ensure that people living with disabilities and seniors would have a basic guaranteed livable income so they could live with dignity and respect. That's what we believe fundamentally. There should be a base level of amount so that seniors and people living with disabilities can live in a dignified manner in our country. And we really believe in that. And that's what we're fighting for. And Benita will give you some more details about where we're at.
Thank you. Thank you so much, JAGMEET. And I will echo that it was the federal NDP that brought the Canada Disability Benefit to the House for consideration. The Liberal government sat on this for almost 10 years. They sat on this promise to have an income support program for persons with disabilities. And I think about here, as we are here today, looking at this housing unit and talking about protection funds. Many of the accessibility needs, persons with disabilities, their housing needs are not being met. And it's very expensive for them and they need these income supports. So right now it is in the hands of the Liberal government. They know that they have the support of the NDP. They know that this is law right now. There should be a Canada Disability Benefit. It's up to them to have it in this budget and to enact it so that people don't no longer have to struggle with their cost of living.
So we got to see Benita Cirillo right there. She's an MP from British Columbia, but there are so many other, well, there aren't so many, but there's a number of other NDP MPs that are somewhat likable, but they seem delusional or just out of touch, like with what they're doing. Because Canadians want an election, and a lot of the time they do seem like they want an election too. Here, let's take a peek at some of them.
This is a historic day for Canadians. Today, we lay the foundations of public pharmacare in Canada, and for the first time in history, we will see the delivery of two major classes of drugs, contraceptives and diabetes medications and products, delivered through our single-payer system. This is the culmination of a dream that began when Tommy Douglas invented healthcare in Saskatchewan in the 1940s. It's the result of decades of hard work by New Democrats and progressive Canadians and allied organizations for years who believe that every Canadian should get access to the prescription medication they need to stay healthy with their health card.
Proud New Democrat and a member of Canada's only Labour Party, it is certainly a pleasure to be here. Just moments ago, we were able to lead a Solidarity Forever chant as we saw a unanimous vote, but we are not fooled by Liberals and Conservatives who for the past 15 years have voted 8 times against delivering this legislation, where we heard this week in debates, Conservatives stand up and proudly declare that they themselves were scabs. New Democrats understand that the only way to fight against the raising costs and corporate greed is through collective bargaining and is through unions. And the use of replacement workers, scab workers, in times of negotiations literally takes food off the tables of Canadian workers. That's why today is important, but we are going to start the work today to make sure that when this gets to committee, that we're not going to see liberal loopholes or conservative poison pills on this legislation, that New Democrats are going to continue to fight and win for workers. Thank you.
Matt Green is always pissed off, it seems, at both parties. I think that he wants an election. Now let's take a look at some of the NDPs on the floor of the House of Commons. They're nuts. They all seem like they want a change. That's what it seems like.
People unable to find an affordable place to live in Nanaimo Ladysmith is staggering. And what have the Liberals done? Cut the Reaching Home funding to Nanaimo by 60%. And the Conservatives plan gut funding and leave it up to rich developers who just so happen to be their biggest donors. Nanaimo needs more support, not less. The Mayor of Nanaimo is calling for federal support. Will the minister provide the funding required for truly affordable housing in Nanaimo?
Hear, 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 hear. Speaker, New Democrats are delivering diabetes medicine and devices and contraceptives for all Canadians today. Yeah. Free contraceptives are life-changing for women across this country. But shamefully, Danielle Smith said she doesn't want that for Albertans. Right. My constituents are outraged, and the Conservative leader, when he was asked by the media about this, literally ran away, so he didn't have to talk about fairness for women. Will this government ensure that they sign agreements with all provinces so all women, all Canadians have access to the...
The Northerners continue to experience the worst housing crisis in the country. Overcrowding is so bad that families sleep in shifts. One home was cracking in half from the melting permafrost and only held together by duct tape. This cannot continue. For years, this government has ignored the territorial's call for investments to housing. They need the housing funding now. Will this Prime Minister respect the territorial governments and deliver the funding they need to build homes?
Mr. Speaker, people across Northwest BC are deeply concerned about the ongoing drought. Last summer saw record wildfires across Canada. Farmers couldn't get their crops. Wild salmon were stranded on their way to spawn. And right now, with very little snow in the mountains, next summer could look even worse. But while the Conservatives remain silent around the harsh impacts of climate change, the Liberals appear to be satisfied with business as usual. So my question, is there a concerted national plan to address the droughts and wildfires we expect this summer? And if there is, what is it?
Hear, hear. More than 8 million people in Sudan have been displaced through 10 months of war. This has been devastating for people in Sudan and their family members in Canada. The special immigration measure for Ukrainians set important standards, and it should apply everywhere else. Canada showed that we can help those facing war and persecution. 220,000 Ukrainians got to safety, but the Liberals put an arbitrary 1,000 person limit for people in Gaza and 3,250 for Sudan. Will the minister lift these caps so that no Canadian family in war zones is discriminated against?
Mr. Speaker, 30% of the screening officers at Victoria's airport have lost their jobs without due process and with no access to an appeal. Their employer wanted to keep them on, but the Canadian Air Transport Security Authority interfered, undermining labor relations and costing people their jobs. To make matters worse, the Minister of Transportation refuses to meet with them. Yet again, the Liberals are dropping the ball when it comes to protecting workers. Why is the minister refusing to meet with these workers and their union?
Mr. Speaker, for almost 3 years, the Liberals have let a shipbreaking company in Union Bay bend the rules, putting locals at risk. A boat filled with asbestos is being broken apart in sensitive fish and shellfish habitats, which could cause irrevocable harm and cost 500 people their jobs. The BC government, local First Nations, and residents say the Liberals are failing to protect Union Bay. When will the Liberals finally stop allowing this dangerous activity and further develop shipbreaking regulations to protect our local jobs and our environment?
The country are struggling struggling with the rising cost of food, and it's even worse in northern and Indigenous communities, where the lack of competition has allowed Northmart, often the only option, to jack up the cost of food without consequence. The Liberals are choosing to stand with wealthy CEOs instead of helping families afford food. In addition to competition, First Nations like Garden Hill need reliable all-weather roads to be able to bring in food and supplies. When will the Liberals stop subsidizing CEO profits, take on the grocery giants, and stand up for Northerners?
We'll check out a few more NDP MPs from the Parliament floor at the end of the video, but right now we're going to jump into this clip of JAGMEET talking a very big game. I don't think he'll back it up. He's just talking tough. Dividing and distracting Canadians is what it feels like, because I don't believe him.
We can do it in BC, we can do it across the country. This can be a step forward in showing that we can actually achieve universal coverage. Now, we also need to be clear, we are ready to work day and night through the weekend for the next couple of weeks to make sure that this happens. But I want to put it to Justin Trudeau and the Liberals that we're getting very close to a final offer on the table. And if they do not come through with their commitment, if they break their promise by March 1st, there will be consequences. We are fighting for people, not for pharmaceutical companies. We want young families, workers, seniors to be able to get access to medication. We're not worried about the bottom line for big pharma or for big insurance companies. That's whose side we are on. We'll see whose side the Liberals are on.
What do you think, gang? Is JAGMEET ever going to come through? He makes that threat to Trudeau all the time that he's going to break the coalition. They got this healthcare bill passed, but it really doesn't make a difference. If you look into it, the provinces take care of that part of our health, and this act really didn't change anything. Before we get going, we're going to look at a few more NDP Liberal coalition members that flip out. I'm positive they don't like this coalition. If we watch a few more, you'll see it. Anyways, we'll send you off on that. My name's Ehren. This is Question Period Canada. We'll have about 3 or 4 minutes of extra video at the end here. Like and subscribe. We have fun here with Canadian politics all the time. We watch the question periods daily. We always have a live show. So come and check it out. It's a great time. We've got a great chat room, a fun community of like-minded people that just want change. So remember to have something healthy to eat and try to stay warm. We'll catch you next video. This NDP coalition government, guys, is for the birds. It's got to go. We'll catch you next video. Thanks for watching.
Harmful content are costing children their lives. In December, a 12-year-old boy in BC died by suicide after experiencing online sextortion. Sadly, this is becoming more and more common, and this government has done nothing. Liberals promised to protect our kids from online harm within 100 days of the last election. Well, they do nothing. Kids' lives are at risk. When will the Liberals start protecting children by acting on online harms?
Hear, hear. Liberals show time and again that they don't have the backs of brewery workers. Liberals are set to drastically increase the tax on beer in April. This will hurt breweries, small businesses, restaurants, and their unionized workers risk losing their jobs. Workers deserve better. Will the minister listen and reverse her decision to increase costs on those who are already struggling to keep their doors open?
Good question. Good question. As Netanyahu bombs Rafah, the supposed safe zone, over 75 Palestinians were killed overnight. We are witnessing a crime of unproportionate horror in Gaza every day. Children are left orphaned as entire families are wiped out in this onslaught. Meanwhile, the Liberals continue to arm Netanyahu over $28 million worth of military exports since October alone. How many more Palestinian children have to be killed for this government to end arms exports to Israel?
What's happening with your career right now, please?
I do indeed. Today I announced that I'll be vacating my seat as the Member of Parliament for Alma-Transcona effective March 31st to go work with the new government of Wab-Kinew in Manitoba as the Senior Advisor on Intergovernmental Affairs.
You've been here a good while. You've followed in the footsteps of your late father. Why the transition time now, other than obviously the new government?
Yeah, well, I'm really proud of all the work that we've done as a caucus here in Ottawa under JAGMEET Singh, and I'm really excited by the work that the government of Wab-Kinew is going to be doing in Manitoba. For me personally, this is an opportunity to continue on in the same vein of work, working for people, trying to have better public policy, but to get to do it from a position where I'm closer to home and I get to see a lot more of my young children and my wife and support her in her career as well.
The NDP caucus is split both sides of the aisle. You sit on the far side from Mr. Singh. Do you have any confidence still in Mr. Singh's leadership?
I absolutely have confidence in Jagmeet Singh's leadership. As I say, we're doing a lot of great work here in Ottawa. The new Pharmacare deal, that the details of which are going to be announced shortly, is very exciting and I think is going to make a big difference in the lives of a lot of people, along with the new dental care plan, along with the anti-scab legislation that just went to committee yesterday. So there's a lot of great work here that's been happening under the leadership of Jagmeet Singh. And I've been very honored to be a part of that work, but looking forward to get to do similar kinds of work while being closer to home with my family.
You used some, I believe, unparliamentary language, the Speaker called it today. Was this, I think you were describing the Leader of the Opposition, if I got that right? Or I'm still trying
I was expressing concern for certain members of his caucus that I felt might end up getting dragged out behind him by their tongues.
And I believe you apologized for that, is that correct?
I did indeed.
Was that a parting shot, or consider we've got so few sitting
that was impulsive, and I think, you know, with hindsight, perhaps not the best day to do something like that. Of course, the House of Commons is a place that can get quite contentious at times, and the Conservatives certainly delivered their fair share of various kinds of phrases on the floor of the House that I think would be deemed unparliamentary. I think it's worth noting that it wasn't something I had intended to put on the record. It was a Conservative MP who invited me to do so.
Just two last things to wrap it up. One, what is your message to your constituents? I just thinking of your constituency when you walk the streets. What is your key message to them now that we're going to be going down a by-election and so on to replace
My
them?
main message to folks in Elma-Transcona is thank you and a lot of gratitude for the honor of having been able to serve our community. I intend to continue that service in another way, trying to make life better for people. And I hope that that as I exit, voters in Elmwood-Transcona will continue to support the good work that Jagmeet Singh and his team is doing here in Ottawa.
Do you think your late father would be proud of the move that you're making?
I don't know exactly what my father would think, but I know that he always supported me in my decisions about my career, whether that was when I was studying philosophy or becoming an electrician or entering into politics, and I would expect that he would be happy to support me in this latest move as well.
And the final is just a procedural question. I believe you have yet to stand up stand up in the House and resign. That is, the press release went out first. You still have to do that last group. Am I correct?
Yeah, those pieces will come before March 31st. Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate you coming
Thank you
up.
very much.
And we'll send that off to him.
Appreciate it too.